show.
Comic Book Logic.
For those about to record a podcast, we salute you. It's time to talk about Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
Shook me all night long. All right, so welcome to Comic Book Logic, MCU edition.
Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
The Desolation of Smaug.
Once again, I am Joe. I am the comic book guy, and with me is the movie guy, Kevin.
Hey.
All right, so how we're going to start this off, talk about how we always talk off. We're going to talk about what do you know about this character. However, it's a little hard to do because this is
It's a sequel to the first podcast.
It's a sequel to the first podcast, so it's mostly the same.
So I know pretty much exactly what I knew, plus the first movie. So Tony Stark and Iron Man and all that business.
And your strange attractedness to Pepper Potts.
Well, it's red. It's the red hair.
Well, we got some new characters introduced in this one. We Ivan Vanko, the Russian character named Whiplash. Whiplash, because it's a V, because he's Russian.
Yeah.
I'm
Which
so
he gets
Russian.
to do for all of about 5 minutes of screen time. But hey, it is what it is.
God, wait till I can't wait to get to my Mickey Rourke discussion on this one. Yeah, so Whiplash is nothing special. He first appeared in 1968. He's been on multiple people have played him. Ivan Vanko is kind of the traditional person who plays him. He's part of the whole rogues gallery of Iron Man. He nowhere near has the gravitas that he has in this film in the backstory. He's just the standard villain. He Cold War villain of the Iron Man universe. Yeah, we also have another wonderful addition to this cast, which is Natalia Romanoff, another Russian character played by Caucasian. Wait, the Caucasian doesn't work because Russians are Caucasian.
That's true.
Played by the Westerner. Natasha Romanoff is played by Scarlett Johansson, played by a Swede, apparently. Ivan Vanko, as played by a Irishman.
Sure.
Natalia Romanoff, as played by a Norwegian, I guess. I don't
Norwegian.
know.
Okay. Scandinavian.
Yeah,
Let's
Scandinavian. I
let's
don't.
just
Could be
play it safe.
Icelandic for all I know. No, it'll be Johann's daughter. Yeah, so we have the Black Widow character who, according to the comic book, was born in 1928. Her first appearance was in Avengers 44 in 1967. I'm sorry, 1964. Tales from Suspense number 52 in 1964. Her origin was given in Avengers number 44 in 1967 and Daredevil number 88 in 1972. So she's been around in the Marvel Universe for quite the number of years as well. And once again, I find it funny that the two characters they introduce are both Cold War leftovers from leftover from the Marvel Universe into this film. I just find it's coincidental, obviously, but I just find it funny that they both are as played by two, American actors who are obviously not Russian. We just talked about on the last podcast about Hulk with Emil Blonsky being played by Tim Roth.
Yeah.
Another Russian played by an Englishman in this case, or let's say a person from the UK. I don't know what his nationality is. I'm assuming it's English.
I wonder if this is some kind of like the Russians are still acceptable villains, but we don't want to insult them too much by actually having Russians. So we're going to go ahead and just pretend so that if there's a complaint, then it could be, oh, but he's not really Russian.
I mean, like, I could do a better Russian. And, the funny thing is that none of the people who are actually playing Russians in this movie, in any of the movies so far in the Marvel Universe, are even Slavic in nature and, like, history. It's like I could play a better Russian. It's like I'm Polish, but I could play, yes, I'm Russian, I'm doing this. What is going on right now? Scarlett Johansson doesn't even do a good Boris Badenov impression as a Russian.
She doesn't even bother.
She doesn't. She's just like, yeah, I'm Russian. Yeah, but aside from my wife's laughing. So yeah, I mean,
Her
there's
left boob is Russian, I believe, is what it is.
Scarlett Johansson's left boob is Russian.
That's the Russian one.
Moscow. I mean, like, seriously, that's all you need. So yeah, there's not much else in terms of backstory that you needed added on to this. Justin Hammer's also an old Iron Man villain. Not quite as silly as this movie makes him out to be, but he is a regular. And this also marks the first actual appearance of Nick Fury. And Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D.
First official appearance.
Yeah.
He shows up at the very end of Iron Man 1. And here he is inserted very obviously and purposefully into the narrative. He gives Tony Stark all of the information he needs to win the movie.
Yeah, essentially, it's like, hi there. I'm representative of S.H.I.E.L.D. It stands for Strategic Homeland Deus Ex Machina. Yeah. Just so you know, Nick Fury's first appearance was in Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos #1. Oh. And as we said I believe on the Iron Man podcast, Nick Fury was originally, of course, a white character. And in the Marvel's comic, Marvel Ultimates, he was drawn to look like Samuel L. Jackson, which was part of the sweetening of the pot to get Samuel L. Jackson into the movie.
Yeah, works for me.
And it works for me, too. It's like, I love Samuel. I think it's like one of the most choice castings that they've done so far with it. But you actually get his first background appearance. Now, it's hard to talk about the characters that are brought into this movie with their original Marvel intention, especially side characters, because, of course, Iron Man, Hulk have always been updated year after, and, every decade or so they get an updated origin.
Yeah.
Nick Fury is... he's a World War II leftover. Same, like all of these Russian characters, Whiplash, Black Widow, they're all Cold War, relics.
Right.
So it's really hard to talk about like their backstory in relation to who they are in the movie now. So you just kind of take it at face value. Because it's like to talk about, well, she was originally a Russian KGB agent, and it's like, what? Who are they? It's like, well, you see, back in the day,
yeah. I mean,
what's the Soviet Union? Well,
for a lot of the, it's always this balance that they seem to want to strike between being able to reference that and being like, there are still those loyal to, and then trying to update it where we're talking about like. The war on terror and post 9/11 and the modern
Dick
warfare,
Cheney's America,
right?
as I like
and
to call
drones,
it.
and we've got to insert all of this, but it still has that Cold War because hey, that made for great stories.
Hell yeah! After when the
villains,
when the Berlin Wall fell, so did American culture. That's what I'm saying. The American pop culture. Who's G.I. Joe gonna fight now?
Yeah, we have to make something up. Well, Cobra. They could be anybody. Make them up. They're snake people, I guess.
So now's the part where we
have to
recap the movie. This was actually this is very interesting because Kevin and I just watched it
5 minutes ago.
It just ended. We watched.
This was the first time I had seen the movie since I saw it in the theater,
and I watched
back
it
in
last
2010.
night. So.
So this is very fresh in both of our minds, and we'll still probably forget things, but we'll try to hit the highlights.
Okay, so let me set the scene.
We open up with the dulcet tones.
No. We open up in Moscow.
Yes.
Oh. I mean, and not just Moscow. The scene opens in stereotypical Soviet Russia. Not even post Berlin Wall Russia. I mean, this is
Yeah.
like Soviet era.
It's snowing because it always is.
There's people wearing fur coats and big fur hats.
Half of them are bears.
I think there was people. I think they saw missiles getting paraded down the street in Red Square. It was seriously the most. It was just a stereotype and a half.
People were visiting the preserved body of V.I. Lenin
Lenin.
on display in the square.
You laugh, but it was so true.
Yes. It's very Russia.
Yeah, where we get a close up on a stereotypical Russian man with a mustache dying, and calling his son over, and his son Ivan over, who turns out to be Mickey Rourke, looking like a maniac.
Hot off of his Academy
Award
Award nominated performance
he
as
win?
the wrestler. Did he win for that?
I don't remember if
looked
he
that
won.
up
Yeah, that
prior.
might have been something to look up. But yeah, he was just
Why
off.
do research? We just watched this movie. My brain
I mean,
doesn't
I
work.
only watched The Wrestler to see what's her face naked, but that's just me. Yeah. But yeah, so we start off in this, and in the background of him, you know, where his father's like, "You must avenge me" or something like that. Doesn't really matter. He's just like, "Son, I have to tell you exposition." You hear the background of Tony Stark telling everyone. It's the end of the first movie where Tony Stark is telling everyone that he is Iron Man. So you have that going on in the background, and then of course Mickey Rourke gives off this Klingon death cry that you can only hear in in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
He did not win.
He did not win. Okay, thank you.
I was looking it up.
And so this is his call to action. He designs a battle suit that he will use to go fight Tony Stark.
Yeah.
For some odd
Completely
reason.
practical
Yes.
bodysuit.
Yes, and it turns out that Anton's father had created the arc reactor with Howard Stark, according to the blueprints that we are so obviously shown, and they show a close up on their names.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, that's important.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jon Favreau, for that. But it turns so then switch to the Starkspo, the Stark Expo.
Right, they invented the Stark reactor.
Yes, the
And
Starkspo.
now we're at the Starkspo.
The Stark Expo, which is, I believe, where they went after Montreal kicked them out. I love that joke.
Never gets old.
No, it never gets old. Where Tony Stark lands and gives this whole big thing about how he's, saved the world himself. He's, feeding his ego. But it turns out that his blood is being poisoned by palladium,
Yeah.
which is what we use in our car's catalytic converters to take out a lot of the toxins out. Just so you know, like when you're actually poisoned by palladium, I looked this up. It's basically the same thing as having like radiation poisoning. It's the exact same thing. You lose your hair, you get scars and stuff like that.
Palladium is also the name of that
It's a
that
role-playing
cable
game.
network
Oh.
channel. That cable network that shows concerts and stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's also the name of a company that makes RPGs.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah,
Which is also the same as getting radiation poisoning.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, they have this big Stark Expo where we have Roger Sterling comes up
Yes.
as Walt Disney
Roger Sterling as Walt Disney.
or Howard Stark in this case, explaining to how the Stark Expo is the wonderful world of tomorrow. Hey,
Be
Tink,
confused with Tomorrowland.
where you just expect him to have a cigarette in one hand and a whiskey in the other.
Yes.
That's I'll get into it, but that's one of my favorite performances in this entire movie. Is just Roger Sterling in this movie. What is this even? Is John Slattery? That's his name. I gotta start remembering people's names instead of just the characters they play.
It's okay. That's part of our thing. I understand.
Yeah, but it turns out that Stark is being poisoned by his own arc reactor, the Stark reactors we like to call it, and it turns out the palladium is poisoning it, but he can't find a suitable replacement for the palladium.
Right. He's been looking at different flowers. He's been trying to use Lorenzo's oil to try to, but then he sends a blood sample. Oh wait,
No,
It's
not
been
yet,
a
not
long
yet.
day of comic book movies. I can't. Oh, okay.
He's
All
tried
right.
every combination
Here I am.
of element there is, of every atom there is, I think is what he... Or he said
He's
every...
tried
every-
helium chloride. He's tried.
He's tried
barium cobalt.
boronic mercury.
I like to imagine that there's like a chemist listening right now, just screaming into his with us on his headphones, just like, you can't combine that. That's the joke, sir.
That's the
joke.
There's actually a cutscene in the movie where he goes and tries different combinations of the different elements to see if they work. I mean, it's nice. It was. I'm glad they cut it because it's not really that useful.
Makes for a good bonus feature on a DVD.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's try tungsten unihexium. Something like that. But anyway, as he's finding out that he's dying, he can't find a replacement for palladium. He gives over the company. He gives over Stark Industries to Pepper Potts.
Right. He knows he's dying.
Yeah.
He's got to step down.
Yeah.
Etc.
He wasn't
really doing anything to run the company anyway, so it's not like he's stepping down from anything.
Yeah. Kevin was a little upset. He's like, "Is this company publicly traded? Can he even do this?"
I was assured that
that he owns
a majority share, then he is allowed. I have to look out for these things.
You do have a degree in economics.
Yeah.
It's all right. I have a degree in Iron Man, ferromenology.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he gives over Pepper Potts, but a great little scene where she's complaining that he's given all like a $6.8 million art trust to the Boy Scouts of America before the whole anti-gay thing happened. So the joke worked back then. Now it's just like Tony Stark's not really in touch. Yeah.
No, but he didn't reference MySpace, but they do reference YouTube. So
that's still
we're
a
getting
thing,
there.
though. At least
we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, she also says, are you Googling her?
Sure. Well, I mean, what was she gonna say? Did you Bing it? She wasn't gonna say that. Nobody says that. That's not a verb.
It's true. Are you checking out her MySpace?
Who were her top friends?
Yeah. Well, that leads us to the next scene.
Who's in her top 8?
Well, the next scene, which is only written into the movie to introduce Natalie Rushman, the new executive assistant, played by Scarlett Johansson herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, she shows up, and it turns out she's a fully capable woman who can fight Jon Favreau. I can fight Jon Favreau. That's not saying much.
Well, he does beat up that guy later.
He does. I mean,
just barely. It takes him the whole scene.
I mean, the real way you beat Jon Favreau is you go, "Hey, you want to go get a Maxwell Street Polish?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, let's go."
You beat him by saying that Maid wasn't very good.
Dustin, why'd you cast Dustin Diamond in that movie?
And Sean Puffy Combs.
Sean Puffy Combs, yeah. Actually, he was pretty good in that movie.
Yes, he was. I'll allow it.
I got to stand up for Jon Favreau. He's a local Chicago boy, so
I know. I got no beef with him.
I got no beef with him.
I got no roast beef.
Oh, you know what we totally forgot?
Oh, what?
We forgot the scene where Tony is forced to go in front of...
Oh, great. The introduction of Larry Sanders.
The introduction
Senator Larry Sanders.
Senator Larry Sanders. Yes, after the expo, before the scene with Scarlett Johansson, Tony Stark is forced to go in front of the Senate Arms Committee for some odd reason, which is headed by Senator Larry Sanders. Or Gary Shandling, or whatever we want to call him in this one. I don't even remember what his real name is.
Those lines have been blurred since the mid-90s.
Hey, you're gonna bring the Iron Man suit, and you're gonna give it to
It's the Iron Man weapon. David Duchovny told me
What's the matter? Yeah, I gotta give over the suit. So I can only do a Rip Torn impression, so...
Hank, would you start the PowerPoint? Hank?
I almost have it working. I almost got it.
Did you download the update?
It's a funny scene.
I kind of want to do now the entire podcast as just various characters from
Gary
the Larry
Shandling.
Sanders show.
Yeah,
watch for our Larry Sanders podcast coming in summer of 2015. By the way,
I do like. It's a fun scene because it's Iron Man, but it's basically a rehash of the opening scene where he's like, "I've just privatized world peace."
I'll bet he's in league with the bad guys. By the way,
We
Gary
don't know that
Shandling. I know, but I'm
We'll
willing
see in the
to
future.
Bet. I'm willing to bet. I'm going to put money on that now.
That he's a bad guy.
I'll wait for the reveal.
Well, he's
Let's see.
sort of the biggest villain in this whole movie. But yeah, it's basically just a rehash of the first scene where Tony Stark is just saying, "I've privatized world peace." We also introduced to Justin Hammer, who is a Pentagon weapons liaison, played by the criminally underrated Sam Rockwell.
Played with gusto.
With gusto.
By Sam Rockwell.
Muy gusto.
And I had said that I was glad that Edward Norton played Hulk, because otherwise he probably would have played Hammer, and that would have been that would not have given Sam Rockwell this chance to shine.
Oh, just a beautiful performance by Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer, who
Very physical,
yeah.
very expressive.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the hell out of it.
And we also see in the scene, I guess the scene actually is very important because it also brings back James Rhodey Rhodes, who has gotten a full workover and transformed into Don Cheadle.
Yes.
Who now, for the rest of the podcast, we'll be referring to Don Cheadle's last name as a verb.
Right.
As in, he cheatled that part.
He got cheatled. He got cheatled out of that part. And that's...
No. Terrence Howard got
Terrence
cheated.
Howard, yes.
got
Terrence
cheatled out
Howard
of the
got
part.
cheatled out of the part of James Rhodey Rhodes.
Yeah. It's played by the guy from Hotel Rwanda, who actually seems to be enjoying the part for a change instead of being like, I don't like what I'm doing here.
Right, looking like the movie is physically
Painful.
Painful for him.
So after we are introduced back to the part with Natalia Romanoff, or I'm sorry, Natalie Rushman,
Yes.
we are done taken to Monaco. In sequelitis state, you have to go to Europe for some odd reason in every sequel.
Yes. It's very true.
We're going to Monaco, where apparently the Monaco Grand Prix is being run.
Sure. That's a thing they do. They love their Formula One in
Europe. It's Formula
Europe.
1 and soccer.
That's true.
Where they have the Grand Prix, and Tony Stark has decided that he is going to drive in the Grand Prix. A lot of other stuff happens beforehand. Not really important. It's just a thing to move Tony Stark so that he could drive a Grand Prix car. It's almost as
We can have our pod race.
yeah, so you can have your pod race in this scene. It's almost as if who's the guy from The Great Escape?
Steve McQueen?
See, it's almost as if Steve
Yeah.
McQueen was playing Iron Man. He's like, I have to have a race car scene in this. It's like almost what it felt like.
Yeah. I'm going to wear a cable knit sweater and I'm going to drive this car.
You really should be wearing a full body suit when you're driving. No. Cable knit sweater.
This is fine.
This is fine. As the cars are driving through the Grand Prix, who's that guy working on the sidelines with all the
Looking
Russian
inconspicuous.
with all the Russian tattoos? I am being inconspicuous. Can you not tell, comrade?
No one noticed me.
The sad thing is we're doing better Russian accents than Mickey Rourke did. So I don't want to piss Mickey Rourke off because
No.
he's like I love Mickey Rourke as an actor,
And
but
he listens to this.
and
We know that he does.
he listens to everything. He's got like a botnet going on where he just keeps track of every time his name's mentioned on a podcast.
Yeah.
I like him as an actor, but I mean, come on, he couldn't do a Russian accent.
This was not his
Yeah.
finest moment.
No, he doesn't run. He just casually saunters out into the
Sure.
track. And what's this? He has whip hands.
He has electric whip thingies.
Like something out of the movie Xanadu, or like a, I don't know.
I was thinking like Sailor Moon or
Yeah, some,
something.
like,
some
anime,
weird
yeah.
anime like laser whip thing.
electric whip.
Well, it would be a laser whip in the anime, but
Yeah.
yes, and we've got the lightning bolts. It's making lightning bolt
It's
noises.
crackling, and he's whipping cars in half. Hundreds of people are dying.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
just like they never acknowledge it that anyone
Yeah.
has died, but there's
The body count in this film is astronomical.
astronomical. Just whipping cars in half and everything. And oh, here comes Tony Stark's car, and it gets whipped in half. Yeah. Oh no! But Pepper Potts sees that he's doing this and gets Happy Hogan to drive the car onto the track opposite of the way all the other cars are driving. It's a Grand Prix. It's only 6 miles. Like, you could literally drive the same way as the other cars and come back around, and it's much safer that way.
Yeah.
It then drives the car, which is what would we say it was? Like a
It looked like a Rolls Royce or something.
Sure, was it
I don't know.
Monte Carlo?
Oh.
I don't think it was. I think it was probably Rolls Royce. I don't know cars. We
I
need
don't know what a
Pat B
car
on the
is.
podcast. He'd tell us.
Yeah.
But he drives the Rolls Royce right into Mickey Rourke, not killing him or severing him in half in any way, shape, or form.
No.
I've seen people hit by cars going at 15 miles an hour, and it's terrifying. This car was going like 40.
Smashed up against a guardrail.
Yeah, still alive.
Yeah. It must have been the whip hands.
Yeah, as the whip hand, as Ivan, aka Whiplash, is using his whips to.
And then someone said, like, I got whiplash. Just to work in, as
Yeah.
we know.
Well,
the
we'll get into that.
egregious,
We'll get into that.
obvious name.
Yeah, and as he's whipping at Tony Stark, but so there's some decent comic relief as Pepper's trying to give Tony the suitcase that contains his suit. It's pretty funny how it works, but it's like also there's a laser whip involved with this. People could get seriously hurt. So finally, he gets the suitcase, puts on the suit, which is actually from the Iron Man comics, mind you. The suitcase.
Oh.
Because back in the day, he used to have to keep the whole chest piece on to stay alive. It wasn't
Okay.
just the arc reactor; it was the chest piece, and he would keep the rest of the armor in a suit, in a suitcase.
Right,
So
a
he'd open up
garment
the
bag.
suit, yeah, the garment bag, unzip it, put it on, puts it on over his clothes. His clothes come out nice and pressed.
Yes.
That was my joke from earlier when he's at the Stark Expo. He takes off the suit, and he's in the Iron Man suit, and he's in a full 3-piece suit, and it's fully pressed. No wrinkles. I sit down in a car in my suit, and it's wrinkled. So, he puts on the suit out of the Iron Man, a nice little piece of technology. It looks like a transformer, and he fights Whiplash and eventually beats him. And
Yeah.
of course,
Eventually, in like 2.5 minutes. I mean, it's a very short battle.
yeah.
There's some jumping around.
it's like, hey, Iron Man, shouldn't you snap his neck and kill him so he can't use his laser whips anymore? No, it's okay. I don't kill people. But he just killed like 40 people in front of everyone. He's obviously guilty and insane.
Yeah, no.
No.
I'm just a humble race car driver.
Like Steve McQueen.
This is my job now.
It's much. I drive race cars.
Here, Pepper, you be Iron Man. I drive race cars. That was,
But I'm CEO
that
of
was
the company.
fun.
But anyway, this is now everyone's freaking out because now everyone is this saying exactly what Senator Stearns from aka Senator Gary Shandling said was that the Iron Man suit is dangerous. People are going to have it.
The comic book movie sequel thing where you've got to have the antics of the hero inspires other people to do the similar things, and then now you got to fight them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now you got to fight him.
now you got to fight them.
Oh, but lo and behold, he didn't kill Ivan Vanko because he's going to be in jail in a Monaco jail. You
You didn't go to Monaco jail.
which is a guy's apartment.
It's a loft. It's a loft space / art gallery.
Yeah,
I assume.
Princess.
I don't know anything about Monaco.
It's on the south coast of France.
There you
It's a
go.
principality. It's very rich. It's high GDP for its per person. It's pretty nice.
There's only 8 people there. So that
Princess
helps.
Grace
Well,
for a bit.
rest in peace.
Her car got whipped in half. Too soon?
Nah.
Yeah, but he's not going to be kept in that little loft for very long because Justin Hammer has plotted to break him out and
It's sprung by an exploding potato.
use potato. It's like, no, Ivan, don't eat the plastic explosives.
He ate. All right, send him another one.
And it's true in Russia that that potato that was worth a lot.
Well, he tried to turn the plastic explosive potato into vodka.
Yeah. This is how I do it. It's okay.
Hey, if he's going to play an egregious Russian stereotype, I am allowed to make fun of Russian stereotypes in the context of that movie.
Well, it's not even in that movie the Soviet Union never fell according to where he was.
That's true.
But yeah, so Iron Man, everyone's against Iron Man right now. Is Justin Hammer brings Ivan Vanko into his fold and it wants him to build Iron Man suits.
Yeah.
For them, and the whole plot is so that he can get a military contract. You know how easy it is to get a military I have military contracts. It's like, you know how dumb you got to be not to get a military contract? You make weapons. That's all you need.
They'll never not buy weapons.
Yeah, it's like, what kind of weapons you got? Oh, I beat steel until it's semi-sharp. We'll take it.
We spend more on weapons and defense than everyone else in the world spends on everything combined.
Pretty much. Oh, my God. So, yeah, they build all these suits, all these Iron Man suits, and you can't get them to work. So that's what Ivan Vanko is supposed to be doing, a.k.a. Whiplash. So as that's going on, Tony Stark is slowly going lower and lower, sinking lower and lower into depression as the palladium poisoning is killing him. But now it's his birthday. And so he decides to throw a birthday party and gets the late, great DJ AM to DJ it. And they play some music that's not really appropriate, I guess, for like a 2010 party.
But he gets to play his own mashup.
He gets to play his mashups and everything like that.
That's his big moment.
Tony Stark is drunk in the Iron Man suit, spinning the rhymes. But Rhodey sees this and he doesn't want any part of it.
Doesn't approve.
He does not approve, so he goes and puts on another Iron Man suit and they fight.
Yeah.
To Another One Bites the Dust by Queen.
To his whole mashup.
It's whole
we
yeah.
get some Daft
Another One Bites
Punk
the
in there,
and then you end up
some
with
It Takes Two.
It Takes Two, and then it goes into Robot Rock.
Yeah.
Where eventually they blow up Tony Stark's house.
Yeah, again.
And
Rhodey,
Rhodey,
I'm pretty sure it gets blown up at the end of the first movie as well.
And
that damn house, just over and over again with the blowing it up.
Yeah, and then Tony Stark should not be allowed around glass. Is all I'm saying. It's like every time he's near a window, it just shatters in a billion pieces. So Rhodey steals the suit and takes it to the Air Force for some odd reason. I don't know why he took the suit. It just seemed
he just liked it.
I think he
wanted to keep it.
I think he was finally like, maybe it was like from the beginning when they're at the thing and he's like, maybe the government should have this because we can't trust Tony Stark anymore. Maybe that was what it was all about. I don't know. So he takes it to the Air Force Base and has Justin Hammer put a bunch of new weapons on it. Yeah. Oh, and we forgot the great scene. This is the part of every Marvel movie that we like, where they announce the name of a character in the dialogue, where it's like, oh, you want to be a war machine or something like. It's so bad. I hate it when they do that.
The guy who said it.
They have to stop doing that in the movies.
Well, eventually everything will be sequels when we'll have already done it, and then they'll never have to do it again.
You guys are regular Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, they basically do say that.
I know they do. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Almost exactly.
Can't jump the timeline. We don't know if there's a Guardians of the Galaxy.
We don't know that they say that. But we're assuming.
Boy, that doctor sure is strange.
Oh man.
He moves through those trees like a Black Panther.
Thor. Wait, that one doesn't work.
No.
Name.
It would be like, he sure is going to be Thor in the morning. What? I have a lisp.
Introduce a character with a lisp just so we can say Thor.
Look, Captain America. It's the Winter Soldier.
All right, we're getting a little off topic. Here we go.
Okay, so Justin Hammer equips it with a bunch of different weapons. In the meantime, Tony Stark is drunk, hungover, and hanging out at Randy's Donuts.
Yeah.
Where lo and behold,
our good friend
Nick Fury. Who somehow manages within 5 minutes of dialogue not to say the F word at least once.
That's a new record.
New record for Samuel L. Jackson. Like, every line should have been punctuated by at least one curse word. I don't know how he did it. And we also learned that Natalie Rushman is Natalia Romanoff, a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., in a great scene where Iron Man looks at her and goes, "You're fired." I don't know.
That was good.
It was pretty good. It seemed very natural.
Another great scene with Samuel L. Jackson talking to someone sitting across from a washed-up white actor
in a
diner.
Yeah.
Love it. Something that he perfected in the mid-90s.
But it's basically, that scene is is great for the acting, but it's also just Iron Man, I need to tell you about all this exposition. And then that's what it is for literally
It's when you tune out.
for literally 2 whole scenes of not 3 whole scenes of exposition where Nick Fury basically tells him that the arc reactor was just the first step. His dad was working on something better.
The arc reactor, but in a triangle form.
Yeah.
Well, getting ahead. Sorry.
So Nick Fury gives his dad was in S.H.I.E.L.D. and blah, blah, blah. All stuff that should have been said a long time ago to Tony Stark.
Everyone was in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly. So he gives him a trunk full of his old stuff. They give him the trunk, open it up. You know, it's got all Kodak film, important papers that explain the plot.
Right. I love that all this stuff was sort of grouped together by like so contextually that it was like this trunk will be useful in 2010, right around now.
Yeah.
Let's give that to him now. We'll save this other trunk for 2 years later.
Yeah. You have old film reels of John Slattery doing his best Walt Disney impression.
Yeah.
You know, and saying, "Tony, someday this will be important to you. Pay attention."
I could be more direct because, I'm your father and I'm talking to you, but nope, I'm going to make you work for it a little bit.
Yeah.
I like riddles. Also, I'm a little drunk.
They do show quite a number of scenes of him drinking.
Yeah, well, that's Slattery brought his own.
Slattery just brought his own.
We're right. I don't know what season of Mad Men he was filming, but I'm pretty sure they just.
It had to be early. It had to be like first or second season.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So eventually Tony Stark is like, "Oh, okay." So he goes to see Pepper for some odd reason. He says something like, I don't understand like the way that he got from watching the thing to the main office, but he goes and tells Pepper.
Yeah, it just went.
Right. But then
she's in her office.
But then he looks at the model, and then he gets the idea.
He sees the key is here,
Yeah.
or whatever. This is the key all along.
But why
Pay
did
attention to this model thing, dum-dum.
Well, hello, dummy. But that's what I don't get is like, how did he make that leap? Like he was watching his dad, and he was like, "Oh, okay." It made him seem like he understood at that point, right?
Yeah.
But then he went to the office, and then he looked at the model and got the idea after he looked at the model. It was weird at that point. But he looks at the model and gets the idea. He takes the model back to Stark Industries, scans it, and he finds that it's a new atom or a new element. And I'm just like,
right.
It's like, that doesn't make any sense. If you have a basic knowledge of science, you know that elements just kind of form a natural progression. You know, it's like you just add one more electron and one more proton. Boom, you have an element. You know, you can go infinite with that. I mean,
sometimes they only last for a millisecond,
but
and
they
you get to name it.
Yeah,
but they do exist.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Oh, we found a new element." Well, they're all hypothetical in their existence, you know. So he was able to somehow. I mean, they never really explain it. They explain it about as much as they explained the arc reactor in the first movie.
Yeah,
it runs off.
Bravado.
It runs off machismo. They have a new
Moxie. We call the new element Moxium.
Moxinium.
Moxinium, yes.
MacGuffium. That's what it runs off.
Right,
yeah.
Yes.
MacGuffinium. That's what they should call the new element. They create the new element, and guess what? It makes him better, stronger, faster.
More Daft Punk music starts playing. Yeah, exactly. Another missed opportunity. Just like calling it the Stark Reactor.
The Stark Reactor.
Marvel, you need me.
Starkspo.
Your puns are not nearly up to snuff.
No, they're not. So yeah, they create this new element, and it makes him so much better, and just enough time to fly. Oh, and then he gets a call from Ivan Vanko. He finds out is still alive.
I'm still alive. I'm going to do a thing. You'd better go get into position to fight me. I could not call you, and then you would not know, and I would win. But I'm going to call you because I really want you to show up so I can shoot at you.
Okay. So he flies the Justin Hammer giving a presentation at the Starkspo with all of his drones that are now created.
Doing
by Ivan
cute
Vanko.
little dances.
Yeah, they're
presenting.
Playing Anchors Away and everything else.
Anchors Away.
They do. They play Anchor. They play all the. They play the Marine Corps hymn,
That's
Anchors
true.
Away, or Wild Blue Yonder, all of that stuff. It's all up there
Yeah.
because all the drones are related.
America's Greatest Hits.
Yeah. There's the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard.
Little small robots come out.
They got little sailor hats on.
They look like Jerry the Mouse.
Dancing with Gene Kelly.
So it's because anchors away. All right. It's
I get
lost on
I
you people.
I get your reference. Lorenzo's oil. So they do the anchors away. They do that whole thing. Oh, but Iron Man shows up, and there's Rhodey in his War Machine outfit that's called like the something of VR.
The Killbot 5000.
Killbot 5000. And he's talking with Rhodey, and he's like, "Where's Vanko? If he's still alive, he's working with Justin Hammer." And Justin Hammer's like, "What?
I don't
know what's going on. Oh no, he betrayed me. Curse your inevitable betrayal." And the robot starts shooting at Tony Stark amongst all of the people, shattering glass of the dome onto untold thousands.
So many people.
So many dead.
There's easily like 3,000 people in that stadium at that moment.
At
and
least
they're
one
all
person
dead.
had to get a like an artery nicked or something like that.
So many. Oh, just so I don't think we saw a single, ambulance show up.
No.
We see any first responders.
No.
No one knew CPR.
So, but it turns out that Vanko is controlling all of the drones and Rhodey,
Yeah, with his computer.
because we all know that
He hacks the net.
he's a hacksaw.
Yeah, he hacks the net, and then he can control all the killbots.
Because if I think of anything of Mickey Rourke, it's his computer skills.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
excellent typing abilities there. That Mickey Rourke.
yeah.
He's a regular wrestler with technology.
Yeah, he's only surpassed by Justin Long from Live Free or Die Hard. Of course, they have to do this giant chase where all the drones are chasing Tony Stark, and War Machine is chasing Tony Stark as well,
Yeah.
shooting at
Flying
him.
around.
Yeah, and it's just basically 4 or 5 minutes of them flying around, shooting at each other. Mm-hmm. Nothing crazy, because Iron Man's not going to die.
And then but you never know. And then they crash into a biodome.
Yeah, they crash into
That appears just to be there for some reason.
the world of Japan. In case you didn't see, there was a big Japanese arch in there as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So though it's the world of Japan. And eventually, at this point, Natalia is going to Hammer
She's
Industries.
full-on
She's
Black Widow
She's
time.
turned into Black Widow. They never call her Black Widow in the movie.
No.
But she and Happy Hogan break into Hammer Industries, and while he's beating up one guy, she's throwing like shocky feet things at people and explodey feet things at people.
She maces a guy.
She makes the guy. She used a garrote at one point.
Yeah.
Like, that's just uncalled for.
Well.
All the other guys are like, "Oh, thank God!" And it was like, "Oh, I can't believe she tasered me. Oh, I got maced in the face." And then they look at the one guy; he's got his throat slit. And they're like, "Oh man,
Whoa.
that was uncalled
Oh,
for."
it was Phil's last day.
He had one day to retirement. He had a wife and kids. Oh, yeah, but they managed to break in, and she resets the War Machine computer system, and he's now able to fight with Tony Stark against all the other drones.
Yay.
But as they defeat all the drones,
Then it's the two CG robots shooting at all the other CG
Yeah.
robots, and it's fun. It's explosive. They,
Yeah. they use lasers.
they punch and shoot and smash and zap.
Yeah, and then of course, at the end of the movie, Ivan Vanko has to show up in a bigger robot suit with robo
his
whips,
whip hands.
with laser whips.
Yeah.
Or electro whips.
That just does not seem like what I would go with. I don't know.
Maybe chainsaws, buzzsaws.
Something that isn't just so tactile.
Well,
I don't know.
Let's be lucky that
I mean, Iron Man shoots magic out of his hands, and this guy's like making some whips.
well, let's be glad they chose Whiplash instead of some of the other Iron Man villains, such as Stilt Man,
Oh,
which is exactly as it sounds. I'm not lying there.
I look forward to Iron Man 3.
Four.
And the 4.
Well, no, 3 because we don't know.
Three,
what
because we don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah.
And the appearance of Stilt Man.
Eventually, they're able to beat him by teamwork, using teamwork, the power of teamwork,
The buddy system.
the buddy system, exactly. They end up saving the day with the cost of millions of lives.
Yeah, millions of lives, billions of dollars.
Justin Hammer's arrested, and Pepper Potts and Tony kiss. And it doesn't look believable at all.
No.
No.
Well, you know.
And of course, his Rhodey Rhodes sidekick there has to chime in and say that he's keeping the suit and flies away. After that, we have a scene where Senator Shandling is giving them medals. Then we have a scene where Nick Fury is talking about how Iron Man is not needed for the Avengers Initiative. He's more of a consultant.
Yeah.
And
Let's see. That's why he will not show up in the Avengers movie, I
nope,
assume.
as we are
Maybe in the beginning and the end, that'll be it. He
He's
will
gonna
not be instrumental at all.
he's going to consult and consult only.
That's what I assume.
Yes, and that's technically the end of the movie until we have the teaser at the end where Coulson is driving in the desert and finds that there's a hammer in the desert. I wonder what that could possibly be.
Whose hammer is it?
I don't know. But whoever it is, it's going to be Thor in the morning. What? I have a lip. The end.
Not to be confused with the bad guy whose name is Hammer.
All right, so once again, that's another Iron Man movie right there. Let's go into a little trivia for the movie.
3 episodes, 2 characters.
2 characters.
I feel like that could have been done differently.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think the biggest piece of trivia for the making of this movie is, well, there's a couple. One is the transfer Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle.
Terrence Howard cheadling.
Cheadled
into
out of the
Don
part.
Cheadle.
He was cheadled out of the part.
He was cheadled out of the part. I gotta make sure I'm using this verb correctly. It's
Yeah, he was. So the basis of the whole argument, as I was able to research, was that Terrence Howard was actually the first person to sign on to the original Iron Man as Rhodey Rhodes. James Rhodey Rhodes. And so, with the success of the first movie, he wanted to pay raise for the second movie. Marvel was not willing to pay up for a side character such as that, so they opted to dump him and bring on someone else to replace him in the part. Not that I would necessarily think that it's such a bad thing. I mean, as I said, I think in the last pocket, Terrence Howard wasn't anything special in the movie. He was kind of replaced. He wasn't like instrumental in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's not that Don Cheadle was that much better, but I think he was somewhat better in the movie.
Yeah.
He
Well,
just seemed to be enjoying himself more.
Yeah.
Not that he was that much better of an actor, but he just enjoying himself more. And of course, Robert Downey Jr. got a pay bump instead.
Sure.
In the big thing right there. That's the first bit, I think, of interesting production trivia. The next one is, of course, the indomitable Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke. Where can we go with this?
Nothing against Mickey Rourke. Love Mickey Rourke.
A great actor.
Lots of potential there, I think, but I don't know. Yeah, I just thought the character was
Holy
dumb.
jeez, what were they thinking? Okay, so first off, Mickey Rourke, everything that you see with Mickey Rourke, that was all his decision. That was none of the production design on that. I'm pointing at the screen right now, even though no one on the podcast can see this. The tattoos, the hair, the gold teeth, and the parrot were all his decision
Yeah.
in the part. And they just let him run with it.
It's cockatiel, Joe.
Cockatiel, sorry. It's a cockatiel. But that was all his decision. They just let him do that.
Yeah. Well, after Edward Norton rewriting the Hulk, they figured why not.
Yeah, I guess that's the
Norton
whole
actually wanted to play Bruce Banner with that
Russian
hair
tattoos.
and Russian tattoos
gold
and
teeth.
gold teeth.
The
but,
cockatiel.
they
The cockatiel hulks out. Rock, don't make me angry.
it's a Hulkatiel.
Hulkatiel. Cock-a-hulk.
There. It doesn't have quite the same
No,
ring, but it is
I
more
like
fun to
Hulkatiel,
say.
though, yeah. Yeah, that's the next bit of interesting trivia was that Mickey Rourke essentially just decided to go crazy and do this part the way he wanted to do it. And I think Jon Favreau was too terrified of Mickey Rourke to say anything different.
With good reason.
Yeah.
Don't argue with that man.
Yeah, he was pretty much cast because of The Wrestler. It's just, I always find it just baffling that they did not choose someone who actually spoke Russian. Okay, I'll give you Emil Blonsky. They made up a backstory that he was raised in England. Okay, it's fine. This man is literally from Moscow. Get a Russian to play him.
At least someone who can do a more convincing Russian accent.
Anyone. As I say, I could do a much more convincing Russian accent than he could. And my Russian accent sounds like Boris bad enough. The other one is the character of Natalia Romanoff was actually, a lot of people wanted that part. A lot of women wanted that part. Some of the people who I think were, like, I read a lot, but I think the most convincing one that probably would have gotten the part was Emily Blunt. Who I heard was originally supposed to play the part, but had to drop out because of filming. There was problems with her filming Gulliver's Travels, the Jack Black vehicle.
Ooh. She made the right call.
Yes, as we've seen. I actually think she would have been better because she's probably could have pulled off a Russian accent, maybe. And I just like Emily Blunt a lot. I like Emily Blunt more than I like Scarlett Johansson. Oh. It's just a personal preference on my part.
Yeah, sure.
There was other people too, including like Natalie Portman, Keira Knightley, a lot of other, typical Hollywood ingenue type characters brought in. Character actresses brought in.
Yeah.
But, it went to Scarlett Johansson, whatever. She's fine in the part.
She's played that part, or will probably go on to play that part in several films.
See, it's fun to stay in the timeline.
It will be interesting to see if and how she progresses.
Yes.
She will.
All right, so let's talk about the things we liked and the things we didn't like in this movie. You know what? Upon watching it last night and this night, I texted you last night when I was watching it. I was just like, I can't believe I'm going to redo this. I don't want to do this project anymore. I can't watch this movie.
I quit.
But after rewatching it yesterday and watching it again today, it's growing on me. It's not as bad as I think it is. It's not as bad as the Hulk. Let me put it that way.
No. Yeah, I think I agree that the Hulk that it's slightly better than the Hulk, if for no other reason than it benefits from the charisma of a lot of what worked in the first movie.
The things that worked, they brought along a lot of things that worked in the first movie, including the My Girl Friday stuff that I talked about with the first movie. It was
His Girl Friday. Yes.
His Girl Friday. Sorry.
Yeah.
With between Pepper Potts and Tony Stark, their banter between each other just goes to show that there is a relationship built there. We're dropped into the middle of it. We understand that there is something between the two of them, not necessarily sexually, but there is a relationship.
Yes, mutual respect kind of a thing. Witty banter, all that business.
Every character in this movie is so enjoyable to watch. Even Mickey Rourke, who I'm just like, holy jeez, how did he get away with doing all of this stuff?
He doesn't have to. He doesn't really do a lot, but there's a lot of him sitting there and scowling and some muttering. Even some of his the guys that he gets out of the jail cell and he kills the soldiers. There's a lot of that where none of that even happens on screen. He doesn't even have to do a lot of action. He kind of stands there most of the time.
Maybe he's more of a genius than we think, and like a lot of his decisions were to make him so memorable in a character that's not really that memorable of a character. I guess maybe that's just like he's like, you know what, I'm glad I'm in a Marvel movie, but no one's gonna remember me as the villain. Like if I had asked you before you watched the Hulk who was the villain in the Hulk, you would have no idea.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Yeah, I guarantee you by the fifth podcast we do, you won't remember that Tim Roth was the villain in the Hulk. Because I'll tell you what, I didn't remember Tim Roth was the villain in the Hulk when I first went back and rewatched the movie.
Now, I wonder, this is 2 years away from Heath Ledger's performance
Yeah, it's very
in
true.
The Dark Knight, and I wonder if there was a bit of, not necessarily Mickey Rourke watching that movie going like, I want to do that, but maybe being
I
sort of
want to do that.
consulted.
Yeah.
I want to do that. Maybe being consulted and other people being like, well, look at this. Like, this happened. Like, this is the way to get a nomination for your performance in a comic book movie
Yeah.
is to go balls out. And
Maybe
that's what he did. He was trying to ledger it.
He's trying to ledger it, not Cheadle it.
No,
He's trying to
he
ledger
didn't
it.
want to Cheadle that part. He wanted to ledger it.
Now let's talk about our two favorite performances in this movie. One, Senator
Sam-
Gary Shandling.
Senator Gary Shandling.
Yes. Who just like, I don't know why they picked him to play that part, but I'm so glad they did.
Janine, I can't even move my face.
Come on.
I'm
He's so
squinting. Who is
over-Botoxed.
Is that Duchovny? Is that David Duchovny down there?
I don't know who the joke was originally made about, but you could say about Gary Shandling or Mickey Rourke that he looked like Farrah Fawcett towards the end. Both of
No,
them.
yes. Either way.
Either way, they're just so over Botoxed and overworked. And the other performance, of course, is Sam Rockwell, who's
Yeah.
just so brilliant. And he's
A great contrast to the Jeff Bridges character in the first movie. It's fun to see sort of another young,
yeah, almost Tony
similar
Stark.
to
Yeah.
the Tony Stark character.
He's
but
Tony Stark
but
without the
no morality, more greedy,
Well, none
more of the bad.
none of the genius of Tony
Right.
Stark. You know, none of the
Right.
the stuff that makes him worth having. Or like, if you put the two of them together in a room, in reality, the only difference between Tony Stark and Justin Hammer is Tony Stark, given time, will create stuff that is useful. Justin Hammer,
Yeah.
as we learned, is just useless.
Right.
But somehow he's created an entire company.
He's right. He's a phony, and that's the thing. Is everything is fake, everything is a shell, and he's just trying to get his way into the Pentagon. The ex-wife, the
Yeah.
giant
Missile
rocket bullet thing that's
That
supposed
doesn't
to
work,
level
yeah.
everything. Of course, he shoots that at Mickey Rourke toward the end in the climax, and of course, it just is a little firework.
Fizzles,
It doesn't do
yeah.
anything. That being the gag, that being the metaphor for that character, anyway.
And I love Sam Rockwell almost in every movie I've ever seen Sam Rockwell. And Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, that's the big standout.
The one that you always think about. But I mean, he's like almost the same character that he plays in Galaxy Quest in this movie. And I love Galaxy Quest.
Yes, you do.
So, I mean, I would, if you love Sam Rockwell in this movie, go watch Galaxy Quest because it's just more of the same, more fun Sam Rockwell stuff. So yeah, those are the two I think standout performances on the Gary Shandling and Sam Rockwell. Mickey Rourke is fine. He's interesting, but it's just like so like this just almost takes me
It's
out
such
of the
an
movie.
odd choice. It's nothing like the first movie. It's not even anything like Hulk. It's just this guy who shows up with this weird, confusing
X.
thing that he's whipping with electricity, and nobody even there's no like explanation as to why he would even come up with that. It's
Well,
just
and
like
the other
whip
thing-
things with electric. Like, would come up with that?
Well, the whole thing is the subplot, which I don't even think I mentioned in the recap, that his dad worked on the arc reactor with Tony Stark. I think I did mention
we-
that. Yeah,
we
because they
hit it briefly.
show it
Yeah.
at the beginning. And the whole reason is he wants revenge against Tony Stark's dad because he had his dad deported. And the dad had him deported because he wanted to make money off the arc reactor, which is kind of a really dumb thing to get a person deported back to Soviet Russia for. I mean, like, what was Tony Stark?
Yeah.
What was John Slattery thinking at that point? I mean, granted, it was a little earlier, but come on, it's like don't be a jerk.
I think one of the things that didn't work about this movie for me was that there was still some. It wasn't as funny and clever. I mean, the first movie had a lot of fun with just the idea of what Iron Man is and could be, and because people weren't familiar with the character, Marvel got to have a lot of fun with kind of toying with the idea of what this character could be and warming people up to the idea and having Robert Downey Jr. play the character. By the time you get into the second one, it's all old hat, and it's got to up the ante, and I don't feel like it does.
Well,
I feel like it was just the same story. I mean, it was just it felt. It didn't feel like we went anywhere.
Yeah.
It felt like it was like the next day, and now he has to fight this guy, and then it's done.
Yeah, I think one of the big missteps is they kind of missed the heart of the movie, which is Tony Stark starts the movie saying, I'm the greatest deterrent your enemies have. You know, why are you fighting me on this? I'm the greatest deterrent. And then midway through the movie, they have like, well, now this other guy has it, which means our enemies have it.
Yeah.
Which is a parallel to the nuclear bomb thing. You know, like J. Robert Oppenheimer saying, like, you know, like, I'm the creator of the bomb. You know, I am become death. You know, and like how he felt now that the Russians had it. And then all of a sudden he goes, you know, it's like that sort of storyline. It's like you created this weapon, you're pretending, and you say you're keeping us safe, but now our enemies have it. What do you do now? You know, you're supposed to be protecting us. Like that pressure that's put on him, it's all kind of put to the wayside because of this stupid side story of him having this palladium poisoning, which did not need to be in the movie.
Well, and going off of that, I mean, I think it would have worked better to put it in a global context if Mickey Rourke's character was an operative of the Russian government or of some other government.
Yeah, instead of another
even just evil bad guys, instead of just this guy who's like, I'm going to make whip things, and then you know he's a personal vendetta.
Yeah,
that doesn't fit in this context of this framework of the story of its, you know,
geo-global politics.
It's none of that. Those two things didn't gel. You'd pick one.
Like, even if it was like British people going, we would like you to design ourselves a British Iron Man armor. We'd like it to make tea and crumpets.
You know how this would have worked if it had been like a James Bond movie. Mm-hmm. It needed to have like that Cold War spy element to it.
Which they had Ivan Vanko, they had Black Widow. It's like you have all these elements, use them. Make this more global. Don't make this so localized and
Sean Connery would have gotten it right.
I'm gonna make whipped things with my hands. Whips. I'm gonna hit a woman when she gets a little crazy.
I'm Tony Stark. I'm the greatest nuclear deterrent.
I am Iron Man. So yeah, I mean, do anything else on the things you like, things you didn't like?
No.
All right, so we want to talk about the song, and I wanted to talk about the soundtrack to this movie.
Yeah,
because it was like you were just taken aback by like every time something popped up, and I just wanted to.
It was just so. Just so intentional. There was nothing. I'm used to movies that try to work in like, ooh, that's an obscure, I know that song. That's what this was just like. This is Radio Clash. Like,
I mean, like
out of nowhere for like 20 seconds of the Clash.
Well, I mean, it's just like, well, first of all, the entire soundtrack is pretty much AC/DC, like in the first one. I mean, Shoot to Thrill, Rock and Roll Damnation, Guns for Hire, Cold Hearted Man, Back in Black, Thunderstruck, If You Want Blood, Evil Walks, TNT, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be.
Those are all in the movie?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, pretty much. And then, of course, you had, all the ones that we talked. Maybe not all of these are in the movie, but that's the soundtrack, the actual soundtrack. But then there's also the music in the movie that includes Should I Stay or Should I Go?
Yeah, lots of the Clash.
The Magnificent Seven by the Clash. Another one, Bites the Dust. It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. And, of course, Robot Rock by Daft Punk.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Magnificent Seven. I think I said this is Radio Clash.
No, that's the one with the boxing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Different
but
song.
It's just like, this is just a weird collection. It's like whatever was on Jon Favreau's iPod at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Jon Favreau approved list of music that you could put in that movie. Just weird. Like, I'm not like a huge fan of, I know later on probably 7 movies down the road from now, they'll probably get soundtracks correct in movies. But I'm not saying, I don't know for sure because the timeline, we don't know.
Yeah.
They might be able
We'll have
to
to find out.
make it something worthwhile, but it's just weird. Like, and the first, I'm not a huge AC/DC fan. I like AC/DC, but it's just like,
I don't need that much.
but you know what? AC/DC kind of works in the whole Iron Man scheme of things, where it's just like, yeah, I could see him being like me and you would be like, Iron Man. Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
Listen
Iron
to-
Man's too mainstream.
Listening to AC/DC. Now, if you listen to Bell and Sebastian, all right. So now we're gonna to one of my favorite parts where we're gonna throw Iron Man 2 into a different decade. And this is with you without thinking.
I know. I usually need a lot of time to think about it. So I was trying to think because basically I'm still going to cast. Do you want to just? Would it just be the sequel after our first one?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's do the sequel.
Same cast.
so
So
with
I'm
the
still
70s.
going with Paul Newman.
You're still going with Paul Newman. I'm still going with Burt Reynolds
Yeah.
and Dom DeLuise and Sally Field is all of them. So now we have to add in Ivan Vanko for Whiplash.
Yeah.
And Black Widow we have to add in, and maybe Justin Hammer we'd have to add in too. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie on this
Well,
one.
I know we want a.
You know who I'm gonna cast as Ivan Vanko? I'm just gonna throw it out there right now. Robert Mitchum. I don't care how
Ooh.
old he is in the 1970s. I want Robert Mitchum for that part.
See, I was just about to say, I know we were talking about how you need to get a Russian, and I'm glad you said not a Russian name because I kind of want to go with Christopher Lee.
Oh, that'd be good too.
Yeah.
With his whips, he'd actually have whips. I want Robert Mitchum.
And he makes them, he just says, zap, as he whips.
I want Robert Mitchum because Robert Mitchum is like Mickey Rourke in a lot of ways. Like Mickey Rourke's in shape, but he still looks like he's out of shape. So like that's Robert Mitchum. He's out of shape, in shape guy. So that's what I want for that part right there. For Justin Hammer, I know it's a little late in the whole it's the 70s, so it's a little later. But I still think that Jerry Lewis could pull that off.
Jerry Lewis.
Playing that kind of
Yeah.
wiener part.
Okay.
Either he could play the Gary Shandling part too. I think it would
Sure.
work. Either one, I think. I just want to see Jerry Lewis in that part.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I don't have one
No.
at this point, so I'll
No.
go with it.
I'm going to cast him as a dual part where he's going to be playing both so he can cross-examine himself in the courtroom scene as the senator and as Justin Hammer in a very stereotypical Jerry Lewis sort of a way. But I don't know. I kind of just wanted to break Robert Mitchum in as Whiplash.
Yeah.
Now we need a Black Widow. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm going with Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah.
Yep, straight up Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett.
That's a good one. I was just looking through at Bond girls, and I don't know. Maybe we can go with like Britt Eklund or something, who's in The
Oof.
Man with the Golden Gun, or you could get
Yeah.
Jane Seymour
What about
from Live and Let Die.
who played Plenty O'Toole? Well, that was Natalie Wood's sister.
Oh, yeah.
Get her.
There you
That
go.
might be a little. That might. Well, no, it might be right because I think she was.
You gotta go with the mid '70s. This is
Yeah.
Roger Moore.
Yeah, so, I mean, she's a
Bond
little early
girls,
for that.
So
But that I think she could work. Whatever Natalie Wood's sister's name is.
this would probably.
She played Plenty O'Toole. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, you got Barbara Bach, who was in The Spy Who Loved Me in '77. Let's go with that.
Okay,
One of those.
I'll give
It's
it.
gonna
to
be
you.
a Bond girl.
It's gonna be okay. Okay. But I want Farrah Fawcett Majors.
That's fine too.
yeah. So that's.
Yeah,
I
basically
don't know, but
the same
I'm thinking
cast.
Natalie Wood's sister now that I'm just thinking about it, just for the hell of it. All right, so now we're going to talk about our final rating of Iron Man 2 out of 10 because I refuse to give it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, I always have to. I'm thinking about in relation. I gave Iron Man 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it 8.
And you gave it 8. I gave Hulk 5 out of 10. I believe you gave it a 6.
6, but I sat there thinking about it while watching the movie. I'm going to go with you on a 5. I'm gonna bring it down to a 5.
All right. I'm going to give Iron Man 2 a 6. I think it was, in comparison to both the first movie and to Hulk, I think it was better than Hulk, but I think it was a sharp enough decline from the first one. Maybe I need to adjust because I don't feel like it was only one, because I said 7. I don't think it was 1 down from.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll adjust too, and I'll retroactively give the first Iron Man an 8. I don't know.
I almost want to move the first Iron. After watching these two, I almost feel like, man, I gave Iron Man should be like way up there. I should almost give Iron Man a 9, but whatever. I kind of feel like this would be about a 7 for me, a 6 or 7. Like it is lower than Iron Man, but I still like. In retrospect, I thought far worse of this movie than it actually was.
I remember really not liking it, and I think compared to the first one, I think people had high expectations, and no one really knew what to make of this movie.
Yeah.
But sitting here, 4 almost 5 years later, it's not as bad as I think we remembered.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very, very surprised that I liked it as much as I did. After, like, with such negative memories of it.
Yeah.
And I liked Hulk way more in my memories than I liked of this movie. And, like, rewatching Hulk, I'm just like, oh, Jesus. So our last little segment here, how does this fit into the MC universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe? So we have, of course,
we're obviously working toward the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah, this is the first big Marvel one. You had the big
which
Marvel,
is probably what Marvel called it internally as well.
The Avengers universe,
the Avengers Initiative.
Avengers Initiative. And of course, you have Captain America's shield showing up. You have Agent Coulson coming back. Thor's hammer at the end. A lot more Nick Fury. We
didn't mention that Captain America shield.
Yeah,
he's like, "Where'd you get that?" He's like, "I'm gonna put it under the thing."
It's got a star and it's got stripes. Yeah, people are gonna like this.
People get it. People get jokes.
Yeah, I forgot to mention in the Hulk podcast that we did that in the deleted scene from the Hulk, you actually see Captain America in the ice at the end of the Hulk movie.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, in a deleted scene. Yeah,
I'm glad they cut that.
Yeah. But aside from, because Hulk is sad Hulk walking away in the Antarctic for some reason, or the North Sea for some odd reason. But yeah, this was. So how are you feeling now that you're getting this idea that you're part of a larger universe here?
I still balk a bit at the idea of the movies being. That this is all so carefully engineered. I think it's from a standpoint of these movies, in just these movies.
Yeah.
I think that it's fun and harmless
Yeah.
to be like, oh, we're gonna set up. Oh, this is this thing that's gonna be revealed later, and then oh, this will be important later. And it's fun to see
the scenes?
Everything.
Like, don't you find that? What I'm saying is, isn't it kind of fun that you're like, oh, this is a reference to this, and that, like, there was a scene where Nick Fury is talking to Iron Man at the end. Tony Stark at the end, where you see the Hulk footage from the Hulk playing on the TV, like as the Hulk's rampage across that.
Yeah, you get to see that these things are happening somewhat simultaneously, and you get to see that they're all in the same world, the same universe, literally. I'm still cynical. About it. Well, I feel that it is cynical because I think that there's a way to read it as someone watching it who's able to, you're having fun with it and it's harmless, like I said, but I don't like the idea of all of these movies being just. I feel like in a lot of respects, the art of the movies and the storytelling and everything that they're doing is secondary to setting up all the pieces and making sure that this is right, so that we can have this, 8 to 10 year long range plan to put people in seats and make millions of dollars.
Well, I think this was the last movie where this is the last movie in what I call the Favreau-verse. Like this kind of setup of the Marvel universe that Favreau helped create. I think it goes a little bit into probably the next two movies, but the next two movies are the beginning of what I call the Whedonverse. If we skip the timeline a little bit, but this is a little bit still on the Favreau side, and I still think that basically what they're doing is they're letting you in, not on the joke, but on the universe. They're making you part of it. They're bringing you in by saying you're part of a much larger world. And that's what they're trying to do to you as the audience member, is bringing you in saying, hey, these are all connected, and you're not just watching, 12 movies independent of each other. There's a point to watching all of these, I guess, is what I'm saying. But what I also like is that this is kind of like the last of the mindless action movies that Marvel tends to do, sort of, kind of. I mean, we still see a little bit of it, but after the jumping the timeline, this is the last pure action movie that they do. Everyone kind of takes on a genre, whether it's fantasy, science fiction, political thriller. Something on top of that. I mean, this is a pure action movie in some respect. Other ones are like science fiction action or fantasy action. Like there's some other layer to it, and something brought into
I
it.
hear that. Yeah.
I mean, also, this is just that's why I tend to I feel very different about this movie, because it is a pure action movie as opposed to having something else attached to it.
Yeah.
I like it when they make it political. I like it when they make it fantasy or sci-fi or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts?
No. We'll just see. We'll just see. We'll see how these next movies hold up.
That's because for next week we have...
I don't know.
Thor.
I remember that movie being pretty Thorable.
Go to planetarbitrary.com for all your Planet Arbitrary needs. You can follow me on Twitter at Planet Arbitrary. You can follow Kevin
at K White Says.
Like our Facebook page, /Planet Arbitrary. You could also find us on iTunes. Rate, comment, subscribe. It's the best way you could help out the podcast is by putting on a little comment saying you like us. We're actually under the Planet Arbitrary podcast. That's where you could find us the best. We're also on Stitcher Radio. Listen to our other podcasts. We have Pat's Retro Video Game Review Podcast, a.k.a. Play On. And you also have Game On, where you can find us also on Facebook. So, Kevin, until next time.
Yeah, is that David Duchovny down there?
Comic book flagship.